The quality of images of old newspapers that you are searching on newspaper websites dramatically impacts the types of results that you will receive. The reason is the optical character recognition scans on these old newspapers to use computers to index images. Today, we're going to talk about how to overcome some of the problems associated with the OCR scans of newspapers. Howdy, I'm Devon Noel Lee with Family History Fanatics, where we help you climb your family tree, understand DNA, and write the stories of your ancestors along the way. Today, we're going to continue our newspapers series, and if you've missed any of our previous newspaper research videos, be sure to check the end screen at the end of this video or the description below this video for the links that you need to go check them out. Today, we're talking about how to overcome OCR challenges in newspapers, and we're going to use newspapers.com, but you can use any newspaper research website. We're looking at a typical entry in a newspaper. In this case, we're looking at Society News, and we can see an article where Mrs. Alexander B. Houston, or Houston, Huston, is having a reception and has invited a number of people to attend. As you look through, you're going to see some smudges, some even more smudges, and those smudges make it difficult for the optical character recognition, the OCR program, to scan these documents and rapidly read them and turn them into digital text. Now, as we continue to scan further down the page, you're going to see more of that black smudging, the beginning of the blurring of the letters. But as you get way down to the bottom, it is really, really hard to read the names of the people that attended this event. And the question is, what if your ancestors' names are right here? Let me demonstrate how the OCR does not pack up some of the names that we see here on the newspaper article. Let's type in Albert Carey. Type that in and press find. So even though this page is a little bit blurry and there's that black hue behind it, kind of smudging out the details, the OCR was able to pick up that name. But if I was searching for Maud Stone, because I didn't know that Maud was named Mrs. Albert Carey, I didn't know that she married, watch what happens. The OCR does not recognize the stone. It only recognizes Maud. So one of the strategies you're going to apply when you're researching in newspapers is you're going to sometimes search for just surnames and sometimes just for first names. And yeah, you're going to get a lot of results, but make sure you narrow down to a time and a place and then just be willing to check out the results. It is worth it when you're trying to crack brick walls because you never know where the information is hiding. But general interest, I can understand if you don't go down this route. Before we continue with the rest of this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. So I hope that was an interesting look at the actual newspaper, seeing how blurry pages, faded, scrunched up writing, and these type of things in the newspapers contribute to OCR problems. Now, how do you get around them? Now, one way is to use OCR substitutes. There are common letters that are look the same when the computer is reading a document. You will often find a B will be included as an H rather than the B, or the C will be an E, or an E will be the C, and vice versa. So develop a list of substitutes. If you'll check the description below, I'll have a link to my blog.familyhistoryfanatics.com, to a specific article that's going to give you a list of letter substitutes that you can implement in your OCR searches. Be sure to check it out. So when you're searching for a name or a business or some of the other keywords that we mentioned in a previous video, what you need to do is substitute letters. So let's say you're looking for the last name that you see on the screen. Well, we have C's, we have H's, we have B's, we have E's. Let's play around with different substitutes. So maybe you'll put this in. Now, I don't even know how to say that name. The first one looks like Shibler. This one looks like Skiblin, maybe? But to the OCR, it looks the same. So try the different substitutes. You may try this one, Shiblin. It's very similar to Shibler, but the R got messed up. And how about this one? So go ahead and play around with different letter substitutions to see if you can track down your ancestors in newspapers when you previously thought there were no articles for them. The next thing you're going to want to try is cluster research. Cluster research is when you are researching a cluster of individuals, maybe a group of people who were in the Eastern Star Association. You know, your grandmother was part of the Eastern Star, but you also knew a couple other club members. So by searching for those club members, you might find articles about your grandmother because the OCR couldn't pick up her name, but it's sitting there in the newspaper. You can also look for other family members. Sometimes the article for a different family member will lead you to an article that has all of the family members in it. And you definitely want to look for friends. When you see people serving together in different organizations, maybe they're neighbors, witnesses on common documents, then you want to go search for those people in newspapers and see if your ancestor pops up. They're in a newspaper clipping about their friend, and it happens to name them as well. So in this case, you may be looking for Charles Lee Miley or Miles. It's really hard to read. And you know that John Henry Martin is often in association with them. They're friends. So be sure to check out cluster research. The next method is the stumble upon method. Now, Elise Scalise Powell says that hope is not a research strategy, but sometimes you'll find some really cool articles because you go into the newspaper looking for one thing, and because you take time to read some of the other articles that appear on the page, you might find some extra details about people you weren't searching for at that moment, but they're part of your overall research plan. Let's take a look. So again, let's say we were looking for this article about Mrs. Alexander B. Huston or Houston, and you just happen to see a name over here on the side. This name right here, Mrs. Degischer, Degischer. Well, maybe you knew that these two people were related or connected, or maybe it happens to be that Mrs. Alexander, she was on one branch of your tree, and that Degischer was on the other branch of your tree, and you were reading the news from the town that you're researching in and happened to pick up both branches from the same day in the same newspaper. Now, the next strategy of OCR workarounds is to just read everything. Maybe you're looking for your ancestor's obituary and you know when they died, and you just start reading all of the obituaries that happened within a couple of weeks after your ancestor's death. It's worth a try. Have fun. I'm not particularly going to do it unless there's a serious brick wall that I'm trying to break down and I haven't solved any other problems. But don't discount that sometimes you just have to read. You can scan and browse and things of that nature, but sometimes you can't get around the OCR, you just have to read. Now, if you're unwilling to read everything in the time and place your ancestor lived, then you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you're going to miss out on some cool discoveries. So instead, why don't you search for low-hanging fruit? Look for just birth, marriage, and death announcements, as well as maybe some land transfers and probate announcements. Other than that, you're probably just going to leave the rest of the newspaper alone. So I hope this strategy, which of searching for clusters using OCR substitution, or my previous video of searching for keywords, helps you find really great stories in newspapers. But my question of the day is this: how do you get around OCR problems in newspapers? I love in our community that we can learn together, so share your tips. Once again, I'm Devon Noel Lee with Family History Fanatics. To watch more videos about newspapers, check here. And to find our latest video, check here.